Looking for a good strategy when buying your own home as a real estate investor? Well, I'll be going over that in this video coming up. Hi everyone, this is Jason with Uptrend Investor, and in this video I'm going to talk about strategic home buying. The strategy that I'm going to go over is the strategy that we used as a real estate investor, and the strategy for when we were buying the house that we are currently living in. So a couple things to note before getting into the whole strategy. The first thing is you have to consider first, as a home buyer, are you in the market looking for your dream home, or are you looking for a home that fits into your strategy as a real estate investor? Because these could be two very different things. In our case, we are real estate investors, and so we're not thinking of the home as something that we would be living in for 20, 30, 40 years, however long. And also there was no emotional attachment. So if you are looking for your dream home, then this type of talk is not going to apply to you so much. But if you are a real estate investor looking for the best strategy for your own home, then you should check this video out here. The next point I wanted to make, that was point number one, to know that difference. The other point is the whole concept of cash flow. So real estate investing is all about cash flow, about positive cash flow. That's why we go through the numbers every time we review a project or a potential acquisition. Unless you are Airbnb-ing a couple of the rooms or doing something else like that, if it was just you and your family living in the home and there's no income being produced from the home, then we know it's going to be a negative cash flowing situation. So the strategy here as a real estate investor is to get a home that you live in that is the least negatively cash flowing situation, the least negatively cash flowing deal that you can find. And we'll go over that in the example coming up here. Okay, so let me draw out for you the strategic home buying process that we went through over the last several years. So it starts off with the home that we lived in California. And let me draw it here. What we had was a very nice two-story home, and in a really nice neighborhood with good schools. Put two chimneys on here. It was really only one chimney, but it had two fireplaces, so I went ahead and drew it like that. So you get the idea. And this home also had a 3-car garage. Okay, so a very nice home that we wound up purchasing for $325,000, and this was back in 2008. Okay, so after we picked up and moved to Florida here, we accepted a new job, and we also wanted to ramp up our real estate investing. So we could have found a similar house, a similar house here. But instead, what we decided to do was we decided, hey, let's be strategic about it. So instead, what we bought was a one-story house with only one chimney and only 1-car garage. That's a 1. So what we decided was, let's only get the amount of house that we really need. Maybe not so much a big house like this, which someone else would consider their dream house, but instead, let's get a functional house, one that fulfills all our needs. And when we started running the numbers, it really made sense to us. So let's go over that right now. The income, as we mentioned, I'm going to write it all the way over here, income, and then expenses. The income from this house, we did not have anyone living there with us or Airbnb or anything like that. So actually back then, Airbnb wasn't really all that known. So income was 0, okay? But the expenses, when you take the property tax I'm just going to include the property tax, the property insurance, and the utilities. And I'll just give you some general numbers here. At that time, the total for this per month was coming up to about $2,500. Okay, and then another key point is that we bought this big house with a mortgage, and that was giving us about a $1,800 bill per month as well for our debt service. So you can see here the cash flow for this example was a negative $4,300 a month. Pretty significant, okay? So you compare that to this example that that we purchased for $135,000. This was a foreclosed property, and this was about 2013 that we got this one. So again, for the income in this property, we are not renting it out or doing anything else with it other than living in it, so the income is zero. But the expenses, again, the property tax, insurance, and utilities, when you add that up, our expenses here are about $1,000. So why the big difference? Well, the biggest difference is that for a bigger house, there was a much higher value when it came to the sale price, so the property tax was much higher compared to this house with a much lower value based on our sale price. Same thing with property insurance and utilities. The costs just decrease as you downsize into a smaller property. So the other point here is that, as I mentioned, we purchased this property we live in with a foreclosed property. We actually paid cash for it, so we're able to negotiate down with the bank a little bit more to get this price. And so because of that, we have no mortgage on this property. Now, granted, not everyone is going to be in that position to be able to just purchase a house like that. Fortunately, we were. But the idea is still the same. Even with a mortgage on the property, the mortgage is going to be a lot less, obviously, because the sale price was a lot less. So in our case, it was zero. So the cash flow compared to minus $4,300 per month for the big property in this situation is minus approximately $1,000 a month. So this is what I mean by having the least negatively cash flowing property to live in as possible, because you know it's going to be a liability. So try to minimize that liability. That was our strategy for this house. So because of that, we're able to open up some opportunities with further real estate investing, and it freed up a lot more capital. And the whole concept of a dream house, well, we're still thinking of a dream house, but not now. Right now, our purpose is to build up our real estate portfolio and eventually get our dream house when the time comes. So this is what we have done as a real estate investor, as opposed to someone that's looking for their dream home. So that is the biggest strategy. And let me tell you what we're going to be doing next when it comes to the large home that we still own. But before I get into that, let me show you a picture here. This is the actual large home that we lived in. Again, you can see it's a very nice home with two stories. And we are preparing that home for sale. Here's a link to the video on what we were doing to prepare this home. You can check that out. And then here's a picture of the home that we moved into that we live in now. Modest home, single story, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, all paid for. So that way you could see real life pictures of what we're showing you here. So there's one more part to this strategic home buying that we just did, and that is the plan that we have for this home that we are in the process of selling. What our plan here is that once this is sold, we're going to do what's called a 1031 exchange for this home And with the 1031 exchange, we're going to be able to buy new properties while deferring the capital gains tax. So the idea is that instead of buying another big house like that, we're going to continue to look for smaller properties, maybe 2-bedroom, 1-bath property with a single-car garage, something like that. Or we're also looking at a couple duplexes and also I'm going to draw it like this as a commercial property. We're also looking at commercial properties. So the idea here is that we're taking a negatively cash flowing, very negatively cash flowing property. We moved into a less negative cash flowing, so a little small negative there, that's a big negative, and we're taking the proceeds from the sale and the deferred capital gains tax savings on that and purchasing properties that are, of course, going to be positive cash flowing, because if they weren't, we wouldn't be buying them. So this is a good schematic you can see of the overall strategy that we have, and it starts with the home that we're living in and the decision we made for that home and why, so that it can free us up to continue to grow our real estate portfolio. So if you have a similar strategy or you've done something like this, then we'd be very happy to see your comments. If you can comment below, definitely give us a like if you like this video, and certainly subscribe to this channel so you can get more content like this, and hit that notification button as well so that you can get these videos when they come out. So thanks for visiting us here and watching this video, and we'll see you on the next one. So let's just go out and get it done.